Many people tend to invest in BDCs for their high dividend yields, oftentimes exceeding 10%, which is crazy to think about, right? But BDCs are also much more complicated than an average company. So I'm here to guide you through all of this and find the best BDC for you. Will it be the golden standard of BDCs, Main Street Capital, or should we bet on a dark horse like BXSL? In this video I will compare 8 BDCs head to head, using key criteria to determine which stock is the best investment. In each round I'm going to give the winner of that round 3 points, and the number 2 gets 2 points, and the number 3 gets 1 point. At the end we're going to sum all of the points to see who's the winner. So without further ado, let's dive into it. Starting with the market cap to see who's the biggest company. And we already see a few surprises here. Coming in first is ARCC with a total of 15 billion, having twice the amount of the number 2, OBDC and BXSL, who both are sitting at 7.2 billion and claim 2 points here. In third it's FSK, surprisingly beating Main Street Capital, claiming their first point as well. Gladstone is having the lowest market cap of only 0.6 billion. When investing in BDCs you want to pick a company that's capable of growing their revenue with a future-proof outlook. So coming in first is BXSL, with a crazy 45%, which is really impressive, and claiming the first 3 points. In second is CSWC, with 27%, surprising me a lot here. In third is Main Street claiming their first point. PSAC is having the lowest number here, with only 4%, which is really concerning if you ask me. We also want to see that net income is growing at a similar pace, but keep in mind that these companies are very different in terms of business and maturity. So coming in first is ARCC with a stellar 111%, claiming the 3 points. In second it's OBDC with 56%, still an insane number, increasing those margins at a high pace. In third it's Gladstone, claiming their first point. PSAC is sitting at 0%, which is again really concerning to me. For BDC companies the net asset value tells you something about the fair value of that specific BDC. So let's compare the NAVs to the stock to see which company is overvalued and which is undervalued. And surprisingly it's PSAC who's looking the most undervalued at 2.2 ratio, which is really surprising when looking at the previous numbers. FSK is coming in second with 1.1, also looking pretty good. In third it's OBDC at exactly 1. It seems that the other companies are a bit overvalued, especially Main Street is looking really overvalued at 0.6. For BDCs, one of the more important numbers to look at is the return on equity. The higher, the better. So coming in first is Gladstone with 21%, which is an insane number, claiming 3 points. In second, it's Main Street sitting at 18%, justifying the premium price for most people we saw in the previous rounds. In third, it's BXSL with 11, which is also a great number. PSAC is looking terrible at -8%, which could be another red flag to me. And now that we're halfway of comparing all of these stocks, it's time to check the leaderboard. Who's the halftime winner? So starting at the bottom of the list we have CSWC with only 2 points. In fourth it's actually a tie between Main Street, PSAC and FSK. And to be honest I'm really disappointed in Main Street in the first round. In third it's Gladstone with 4 points, kinda surprising me here. In second it's OBDC. And in first we have another tie between ARCC and BXSL, 2 of my favorite BDCs as of this moment. But hold your horses, everything can happen in the second round, and we have seen before that sometimes companies suddenly outperform in the second round, and still claim the victory while lagging in that first round. So without further ado, let's dive into the second round. Starting with the debt to equity. BDCs in general tend to have higher debt levels, but as long as the equity supports that, it should be fine. So looking at the debt to equity is crucial here. So coming in first is OBDC with 1.3, looking really good. In second, it's a tie between BXSL and FSK, both sitting at 1.2. In third, it's CSWC with 1.1, also looking pretty good. Both Gladstone and PSAC are sitting at a really low number, something to keep your eye on. And next up is the dividend yield, which for most people is the most exciting part of this video. And it's an interesting one with these companies. And coming in first is PSAC with a crazy 16.6%, which is the highest in this list, and gives PSAC a full 3-pointer. But keep in mind, this could also be a warning if the yield is this crazy high. In second, it's FSK with 13.2%, also a crazy high number. And in second, it's CSWC with 12.1%, claiming 1 point. Both Main Street and Gladstone have the lowest number here at 7.3 and 7.4%, which is still a crazy high number of course. But there's more, because when looking at the 5-year dividend compound annual growth rate, we see that BXSL is actually having the highest number. And this was a tough one, because BXSL only exists for a few years now, and thus only have a 3-year CAGR to report. Nevertheless, I decided to still include this number. In second, it's OBDC with 9.7%, which is also a great number. In third, it's Main Street with 3.8%. There are also 3 companies that reported negative numbers, and those were the companies that had the highest dividend yield in the previous round, something to keep in mind. And personally, I prefer a bit lower yield, but better support and growth. Having a high dividend yield and growth is really nice in the short term, but we also want to see companies who are able to grow that dividend over a longer period of time. And Main Street is top of the league here with 17 years, which is really impressive. In second, it's CSWC with 4 years, and there are 3 companies who reported 3 years of consecutive dividend increases: OBDC, Gladstone and BXSL. The last metric of today is the total return in the past 5 years, because what's the point of owning a stock if it doesn't bring you high returns? And keep in mind, the S&P 500 roughly returned 120% in the past 5 years, depending on which ETF you picked. And surprisingly enough, it's FSK that's reporting 163% here, outperforming all the others in the list. In second, it's Gladstone with 154%, also really impressive. And in third, it's Main Street with 136%. In total, there are 3 companies who failed to beat the S&P 500, OBDC, PSAC and surprisingly enough BXSL. And with these last points awarded, we have a final score. And just a little reminder, the halftime leaders were ARCC and BXSL. But if you paid a little bit of attention, you noticed that ARCC didn't score any point in the second round. But what about BXSL? Did they score enough points to win that trophy? Well, starting at the bottom, we have actually 3 companies with 6 points: ARCC, PSAC and CSWC. And it's insane to think that ARCC was in the first spot in the first round. Gladstone is coming in 5th, with a total of 7 points. In 4th is Main Street, who really was a big letdown today. They are referred to as the golden standard when it comes to BDCs, but in today's metrics they didn't shine. In 3rd it's FSK with an impressive 10 points, and I was really surprised by this company. In 2nd it's OBDC, who also really impressed me today. But there can only be one winner, and today that's BXSL with a total of 12 points. And I'm really happy that they did. It's one of my newest stocks that I added to my portfolio, and I'm planning to buy even more shares in the near future. So to wrap things up, what were your thoughts on this list? Were you surprised by the outcome, or did you thought some other companies would deliver better results? Please let me know in the comments down below. In the coming months you can expect more videos like this one, so stay tuned. And remember to always do your own research and never fully trust on what I or other YouTubers say about a stock. I'm not a financial advisor and this content is just for entertaining purposes only. I hope you liked this video and I did bring some insights of the company to you. I would really appreciate a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe to get notified when I'm posting a new video. Thanks for watching and I will see you in my next video.